Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. This is Nick Hodges, the Director of Product Management at Embarcadero, here with your Berlin Update 2 Anniversary Edition Preview webinar. I've got with me the PM team, Serena DuPont, David Millington, Marco Cantu, and of course me. And we're going to give you a look at what's in Berlin Update 2. Now, of course, this update is a little different than the previous updates that you all are used to in that it has new features in it. Historically, updates have been just bug fixes, but because of our new deployment model that I'll talk about in a minute, we are adding features into updates to increase the value of your update subscription and to continuously deliver to you value in the RAD Studio product. So the key features that we're going to be looking at for Berlin Update 2 Anniversary Edition are, of course, Windows Desktop Bridge integration for the Windows 10 store. That's hence the anniversary name. We also have a Windows 10 VCL Calendar Control that works, operates, and does everything that the Windows 10 control does, but it's a pure VCL control, so that means you can backport that to be used on Windows 7, Windows 8, and all the other platforms that we support with the VCL. We're adding IDE enhancement productivity called Quick Edits, which enable you to easily and quickly edit some of the common properties of a given component by right-clicking on the form designer instead of going and hunting things up in the object inspector. We've got a C++ rename refactoring, as well as we're adding compiler flags to the C++ compiler. And finally, we've got some new Windows 10 styles for both VCL and FireMonkey. So this Berlin Update 2 represents a continued commitment to deliver more to you guys within a longer release cycle. In other words, we're going to do a longer period of time between major releases, and in between those major releases, we're going to be doing feature updates that add value not only by fixing bugs, improving quality, but also by adding features to the product in between the major releases that we do. This is going to add significantly new features to the product that we've normally only done in those major releases, but it breaks it down into smaller chunks, allows us to release things at more frequent but smaller scale, and allows us to still do major releases on a yearly basis. This allows you to stabilize on a single release for a longer period of time while staying current with all the new platforms and cutting-edge features that come out in Android, iOS, OS X, and Windows. Of course, FireMonkey provides the multi-platform support that you guys can use to target the latest versions of all the operating systems we support. And now we even support the Windows 10 Store. And of course, the Windows 10 Store enables even VCL developers to take their existing applications and put them on the Windows 10 Store, reaching potentially millions of developers with those existing applications. So Berlin 10.1 Update 2 Anniversary Edition is DCU compatible with previous versions of Berlin. It does require an uninstall, reinstall, but you can keep your existing settings. We've made it so that your existing settings will be maintained during the uninstall, reinstall process. And of course, in addition to the key new features that we'll be talking about today, we've included many bug fixes, as we always do, in order to keep quality constantly improving. And at this point, I'm going to turn it over to Marco, who's going to start showing you the Windows 10 Store features in Berlin Update 2.
Thanks, Nick. This is Marco, and I want to introduce you to our new support for Windows Desktop Bridge, Apex packages, and Windows Store support. Now, before we get to the technology, it's important to underline why this is important. I actually say critical to today's and the future distribution of software on the Windows platforms. We all know how difficult and complex it is to do the discovery, download, install of applications on Windows compared to the mobile platforms and other desktop platforms like Mac OS. And Microsoft is trying to change this in a very significant way They did it introducing the store in Windows 8, but the fact that the store was hosting only WinRT applications was a significant limitation to the experience. Now, with Windows 10 anniversary update, Microsoft is expanding the reach of the Windows Store with a technology called Desktop Bridge that, in short, allows you to take an existing Win32, Win64 application, like those you can build with RAD Studio, either Delphi or C++, either BCL or FireMonkey, and package them into an AppX package. This is the format that can be used for direct distribution on Windows to other customers and through internal enterprise distribution. And it's also the format that can be used for building, deploying applications to the store. The store is not open to everyone. It's open in a sort of preview mode for selected developers, but there is an online form that you can fill to apply to be included in the store with the Desktop Bridge. The regular store is open for WinRT native apps. Now, this possibility allows you to reach really a huge number of customers and create an install and even uninstall experience that's similar to that of the mobile world on the Windows platform. So the potential for customer outreach and the potential for overhauling even existing apps and bringing them in front of way more customers is very significant. And it's probably going to take quite some time before the store is the standard ways to distribute and install Windows application, but there's a likelihood that this will happen, or at least will help reaching a significant percentage of the Windows world. So what do we do for supporting the store? Basically, we've added a new configuration for 32-bit Windows and 64-bit Windows applications, again, regardless of the technology you're using. And for these applications, we provide specific settings. Some are visible there as part of the application settings. There are 2 new logos that you need to add for the Universal Windows Platform package. And further, we've added new information in the version info so that you can fill all of the data that is needed for deployment, for the creation of manifest XML file that is used for building the package. And finally, there is a provisioning area where you can indicate your certificate or automatic or developer created certificate, which is similar to what we're doing on other platforms, basically on Android, and it's slightly different from what we do on iOS. This makes it really straightforward to leverage the existing deployment structure and information that's available for all platforms, and basically makes it really fast to create an AppX package with RAD Studio. So let me demo these steps. So this is my new system. I'm just going to create a new VCL form application, a very simple one. So I'm going to include just a button and an edit box. And just for the sake of the demo, I'm going to change the text of the edit box, saying that the text is, so with this text, with this create application, of course, we can compile and run it locally. And I'm also going to save the project. And now what we can do here that is new is select application store. For this operation, you need to configure the Windows SDK that we ship and distribute with the product. In the SDK manager, you need to add the reference to a few tools that are going to be executed and activated directly from the IDE. Again, similar to what we do for other platforms. Once this is done, in the project options, we can review what's available. We have the new icons that, of course, you can replace. We have some more version info available. We need to add a certificate to the store. So I'm going to pick a certificate that I created earlier from my documents. IDE will find the information on the certificate. So now it's configured for the project. And last thing I can do in terms of review is I can review my project deployment information. And all I have here is the two artwork files, the two logos, the manifest, and the actual executable. That's all is needed for in the most simple scenario. But here, of course, you can add files and add entire features to your deployment. Again, in a way that's somehow similar to what happens on mobile. And then we can build this application, and we can deploy it either from there or from this menu here. And what's going to happen is that we're going to have our Apex file generated and created. If I show the project in Explorer under the Win32 folder, there are now specific subfolders for the deployment of each project, and there is this bin file with the Apex. Now, what can you do with this file? You cannot really execute it. This is not in itself an executable file. It's just a zip file with a collection of files that are part of the deployment of the package. What you can do, though, is open it, and if you open it, you'll be prompted to install the project. The Apex file is kind of an install file. It's a package that can be installed on a system. Now, to be able to install this package, I had to give full trust to my certificate. So I had to configure the Windows machine with the developer certificate. But if you have a regular code signing certificate, that will allow the application to run on any system that has at least Windows 10 Anniversary Update Edition installed. Now, if I do hit install, this is going to install the application. And then when it's done, I can actually launch the application. Now, it is by all effect the same exact application with the same exact behavior, but rather than being executed as part of the standard operating system, it is executed in a sort of virtualization environment. So access to file system and registry by this application are limited to a specific virtualized registry and file system. And the application is in fact installed on the system in a very special location. So this is my program file, Windows Apps folder. And you can see a lot of applications installed. Some of them are actually WinRT applications, but others, like my project 10, is actually my project. So this is my actual binary within the project, and there is some metadata and the assets like the icons and other additional information. So this is how the application is deployed, and in a very similar way, you can uninstall the application and remove all of the files that the application has generated because they're all confined into this virtual file system inside this subfolder. So the process is fairly straightforward from the RAD Studio IDE and allows you to really deploy applications very easily in a very simple way. Now, there is another step to the process, which is the actual store submission. For the store submission, you need to enter your information into this page. developer Microsoft.com, Windows Project Campaigns, Desktop Bridge. This is where you can enter your information to be accepted on the store. The other operation you have to do is you have to create a store account, and in the store account you can actually create a new app and enter the data. You have to reserve a product, a unique name, and then enter the information for your application. And next step, you do a physical submission. There is other information here, including an app identity. Here you get some internal codes and internal ways to identify your application that you must add to the manifest file for the application to be accepted in the store. The other feature I want to mention is the new DCL Calendar Control. This is actually two controls in two ways to use a control. This is similar to the controls that we added in 10 Seattle for VCL. The behavior and the look and feel is that of the Windows 10 WinRT components, but these components are built completely in VCL, so they can be used also in applications that run on Windows 7. There isn't a dependency on Windows 10, even if the look and feel is typically the Windows 10 look and feel. And specifically, this new control implement a modern calendar control that looks and behaves exactly like the WinRT counterpart, which is very different from the traditional Windows 32 all-timers calendar controls. So let me show a demo of this new control. I'm just going to create a new VCL Forms application. I'm going to grab a calendar and drop it into the form, and I'm also going to grab a calendar picker, which is similar but behaves just like more of a combo box type of control with a drop down. The control has different views that you can select. By default, you get the month view, but you can also change and to a different initial view. The user is generally able to move from one view to the other dynamically and change the behavior of the control, which is better demonstrated in the running application, again, because there's a lot of runtime behavior. So this is how you can pick a date within a month, and multi-selection is available, and you can move from months to months in the calendar. But you can also click on the month to go to the month view, and in this case, and then click into an individual month, or you can just scroll from year to year. Or similarly, you can go to the decade view and pick a date in the past, 1995, February 14, that when we started shipping Delphi as a product. Similarly here, you can pick a date. The date is displayed when it's selected, but then you can use the drop down to change the date in a very nice and interactive way. That's all that I wanted to show for these components. So next is David.
Thanks, Marco. I'm going to talk about quick edits. Quick edits are a new feature in Update 2 for the VCL Form Designer, and they're designed to give you quick access to some of the most common actions that you use when designing a form. They allow you to quickly set up a form with a couple of common templates, to quickly add the most common controls or components that you're likely to add to a form, and to quickly access the most common properties that you will want to change for common controls. Now at the moment in Update 2 this is VCL only, but FMX support is definitely planned for the future. And to give you a quick idea, all these features are accessed through the context menu in the Form Designer, and this slide shows a screenshot of the 10.1 Berlin initial release context menu and the context menu in Update 2. And rather than discussing these based on the screenshot, I'm going to go ahead and give you a demo and show you each one of these in action. So the first of these is a way to quickly set up a form with some common templates. I have a blank form here. If I right click and choose Quick Design Form, then you can see there are 4 pre-made templates here. I'll show you a couple of them. And this is a good one to demo, tab dialog. If I select that, then you can see it immediately sets up the form as a dialog with a panel here and OK and cancel buttons, and also with a tab control being a tab dialog. Just let me select everything here and delete them. Another one, for example, Quick Design Form. I can choose main form with splitter. This is a really neat one. Although everything here is grey, what you have is a toolbar at the top and a status bar at the bottom, and then a left and right panel with a splitter in between. Very common and very useful layout. And you can see the other templates are very similar. So the main form one just has a toolbar and status bar, and the dialog sets it up with the panel and OK and cancel buttons. The second item to show is quickly connecting components to other components, or quickly initializing some common properties. So I have a form here with a few controls and an image list, and the image list has a few images loaded. And of course, one common thing to do is to set the image list properties of controls that use image lists. So take the button, for example, it has an images property. So you can go down to the object inspector and you can scroll and you can find images and you can choose image list 1. But it's much faster, simply as you come up here, right click on the button, and you will see quick images in the button's context menu. And you can immediately use that and click image list 1. So what happens for a control that has more than one image list property? Well, list view is a great example. If I right click that, you can see that there are several menu items. Now the really cool thing here is that the menu items that are shown in the context menu for a control are all dynamically generated. So for example, all controls that have any image list properties will have those properties displayed here. So for list view, I'm just going to choose a quick large images and set that to image list 1. Now another common thing to set is a bitmap or glyph or graphic of some sort. I have a T image here, and T graphic properties are also automatically shown in the context menu. You can see the image has a picture property, and so I have quick picture. And that could be icon or glyph, depending on the type of component as well. The form, for example, has an icon property, which is a T icon. And if I right click here, you can see I have quick icon, and that gives access to the picture editor. It's also useful to note that these context menu items work not only in the form designer here, but also in the structure pane. So if I right click on the image, I can access quick picture and get the picture editor. Similarly, they also work for database components. So I have a DB edit here. If I right click, I can choose quick data source and hook that up to the data source. The quick edit feature also allows you to quickly add controls and components. Right click on a form or any other container and you can see add control and add component. In the add control menu are some of the most common visual controls that you want to have on a form. So I can add a button or an edit or a panel. You can also add some of the most common non-visual controls components, such as an image list, action list, or the two most common types of menus. So I'll just add an image list. But the coolest quick edit feature, and the place where it gets its name, is when you right click on a component and use the quick edit menu. This gives you quick access to some of the most common properties of a component or control. And you can see this floating window here pops up when you click the menu item. Now it shows the name and caption of this panel, and of course because the panel I probably don't want a caption. And then the three buttons here, line, layout and color. And of course, just like all the other quick edits, what's displayed in the quick edit floating window here dynamically changes depending on what the control that you right clicked on supports. But a panel is a very good thing to demonstrate. So if I choose color, for example, you can now quickly change the color property of the control. And just click the check mark to apply that, and you can see the panel has immediately changed. And of course this is much faster than going to find the color property and manually setting it. Where it becomes really useful is when you right-click Quick Edit and start using it to affect the layout. So these two buttons here, Align and Layout, give you access to the alignment and the margins and padding. So Align here has a visual representation of the Align property. So you can see this is Align to the top, to the left, to right, bottom, and client, as well as None Custom. So I'm going to change this panel to be client aligned. And I can change the margins and padding. And again, one of the really neat things here is that this editor is a visual indicator of the effect that the properties have. So this thick border here represents the border of the control. And so you can visually see that the margins are the space outside the control and the padding is the space inside. So I'm going to set up the margins here to be, say, 10, 10, 10, and then a very large margin on the right-hand side, remembering that we're client aligning the panel. And turn on Align with Margins to make sure the margin properties have an effect. Click OK, and you can see that the panel is now client aligned with a very large margin on the right. And this is not only a much quicker way to access those common properties, but the visual editor here, the visual indicator of the effect of the properties, is a really neat way to see the effect of the properties that you're setting. The next item is C++ rename refactoring. This is one I'm very excited about. As you know, C++ occasionally lags behind Delphi in a few ways, and this is something that we're very keen to see change. And introducing rename refactoring is one part towards getting the C++ toolchain level up to Delphi's level. So C++ has no refactorings at all at the moment, and so we're adding our first, which is rename refactoring. This is exactly the same as the rename refactoring for Delphi. It's pretty simple. You right-click on an identifier, in the pop-up menu choose Refactor Rename, and it is renamed. So this is a great new feature. It's very good for productivity. Renaming, of course, is a very common thing that you want to do when maintaining or changing your code. One important thing to note is that you need to be building your project using the new Clang enhanced compilers. If you're building for Windows 64-bit, you're already doing that. If you're building for Windows 32-bit, you've probably already switched. I hope you've already switched. But if you haven't, then go into your project options and change the compiler settings to uncheck use the Borland Classic compiler. The reason for that is that rename refactoring uses the compiler services to find the areas to actually refactor. And those compiler services are based on the future of our compiler technology, which are the Clang enhanced compilers. The Clang-based compilers have a lot of other advantages as well, and if you haven't already switched your Windows projects towards using them, then I would like to encourage you to do so. They're definitely something that you should start using as soon as you can. So now I'm going to give a very quick demo. I have a project here which has a number of things that I can rename. There's a very simple project, just has a simple console app called test method, and test method is defined in another unit. So a method is a really good thing to rename. Just right click, refactor, rename. You can see doing a very quick bit of analysis there. I'm going to rename test method to hello. Now the checkbox here, preview changes before applying. If you check that, then this window pops up which shows you a list of all the changes that the refactoring engine wants to make. And then you can apply that by clicking this button here. And you can see that the method is now renamed. So method is renamed here and in the header and where it's used. And so this demonstrates that rename refactoring is not local to unit, it's across the entire project. So let me go back and demonstrate renaming something else. You can see that I have a struct here and I have a template class and so forth. I'm going to rename the template, refactor, rename, and I'm going to call that rename template. This time I'm going to uncheck preview changes before applying because I trust the refactoring engine. Click OK, and you can see that the changes are applied immediately, both in the declaration of the template and where it's used. So you can use this to rename any identifier, and it is renamed across the entire project. Now I'm going to hand over to Serena, who will be talking about platform support and styles.
Thanks, David. In RAD Studio 10.1 Berlin Update 2 Anniversary Edition, we provide official support for the latest operating systems, and this includes support for Windows 10 Anniversary Update, Microsoft's latest update to Windows 10, iOS 10, Android 7.0, also known as Android Nougat, and macOS Sierra. As part of the Update 2 release, we will also include 3 new Windows 10 styles for both VCL and FireMonkey applications in popular color schemes. Now let's have a look at the new VCL and FireMonkey styles in action. Here you can see a sample application that uses the new calendar view control that Marco showed earlier, which will be part of the Update 2 release. And all I have to do to view my styles and apply them to my VCL application is to navigate to Project Options, select Appearance, and here you can see all the different VCL styles that are available to you and that you can use for styling your VCL application. We previously included 3 Windows 10 styles, as you can see right here, and then we've added 3 new styles. And you can select a style and hit Preview to preview what that style is going to look like. So let's select the first of the 3 new Windows 10 styles, hit OK, and then we're going to hit Run to deploy our application. And here you can see an example of the new Windows 10 style in action, this dark blue style in action. It's a really nice style, very modern color scheme. Now let's have a look at the second new style, which is our green style. See right here. Another very nice new style. And then let's look at the last newly added style, which is our purple style. And these styles match popular color schemes that you've probably seen on Windows 10. They have a very modern color palette. And this is the purple style in action. Now let's have a look at the FireMonkey styles. So I'm going to switch to my FireMonkey project. And FireMonkey styles are shown at design time, as you probably know. So you can see here we have the modern green Windows 10 style in action. It's the same color scheme as the VCL styles. And you can see we've loaded the style book. I'm using a sample application here. And I'm going to hit Run to deploy this application. And you can see here, this is the track bar and the progress bar, the checkbox, the stepper control that's added using 2 speed buttons, regular button control, toggle switch with a nice slide animation. And we have here an example of a Windows 10 slider control using the multi-view component for FireMonkey. And you can see the green style. Now let's load the dark slate gray blue style, and we're going to go to Users, Public, Documents, Embarcadero, Studio, 18.0 Styles, and I'm going to select the slate gray style, apply it, and here you can see it applied at design time. And of course, you can select any of the style controls. So for example, I can select T button here, and I can navigate to the style lookup property, and I can go and select to style my control using any of the available style elements. Now let's hit Run. And here you can see the style in action. It's a very nice modern style, very nice modern color scheme. And the last style we're going to look at is the purple style. So again, we're just going to open it, select it, and then apply it. And here you can see it at design time. And then here you can see the style at runtime. Now you can also view these styles through the Bitmap Style Designer, which you can access from the Tools menu. So you can go to Tools, Bitmap Style Designer, and then you can go and load any of these styles to view them and also to be able to export them and then edit them in any type of image editing program or graphics program that you may use. So for example, I can select the slate gray style here. I can hit Run. This is my VCL style, and I can actually preview the style here using the VCL style viewer. You can then browse to images, style PNG, and what you could do now is you could export this PNG with all the style elements. You could then import it into an image editing program, for example, Photoshop, change the color scheme, save it out as a PNG, and then you can just bring them in, update the graphics, and you have a brand new style that you can save out. And then all you have to do is save them to the proper folder. So for example, put them into the correct folder for VCL and FireMonkey, and then you can apply them to your applications. Before we get to Q&A, I wanted to highlight some great offers that we're running on 10.1 Berlin right now. Customers who own Delphi or C++ Builder Professional, XE6 or later, can now upgrade to 10.1 Berlin Professional and get the mobile add-on pack for free. Now, this offer expires on November 30th, and for details, please visit embarcadero.com/rad offer. Now, to get ready for the 10.1 Berlin Update 2 Anniversary Edition release, we're also offering 10% off discounts on professional licenses, 15% off on enterprise licenses, and 20% off on architect licenses. Now, these offers are valid with purchases of RAD Studio, Delphi or C++ Builder, 10.1 Berlin Professional, Enterprise, and Architect named user, network, or concurrent licenses. The offers expire on November 30th, 2016, and to view details on all of the great offers that we're running right now, and also the terms and conditions, please visit embarcadero.com/rad offer. And with that, we're going to open it up for some questions.
Yeah, after I did the recording yesterday, I was actually able to push my very simple app. It's a game I made with my son that I already published on Android. I'm able to push it to the store, so it is technically available on the store. It's not a great app. It has a lot of things not working great because it's just a mobile front end, but it can show the actual process on the other side, so in terms of downloading and installing. And yeah, there's a short video recorded this morning. So basically, this is the URL on the Microsoft store site, and similarly to what happens, so this is just the application description. You can see it says only available on PC because it's desktop only, because it's a desktop bridge. And it's a 64-bit app, and there's some more information there in the at the lower level, but nothing really special. It looks like any other application. As you download it, it actually opens the store app. So this is a store application within Windows 10, and it will just download it in a very smooth way. And at the end, you just hit the run button, and the application starts. So just hit play, and the application is there up and running. So this is a Delphi application installed through the store on a Windows 10 computer, and yeah, it's very smoothly. And the user can remove it, uninstall it completely with all of the local files, because it's packaged in this special subfolder within the Windows apps under program files. So this is the idea. And just to, as I'm talking, I mean, I saw a couple of questions about the virtualization. So this is what happens is that the file system and the registry are virtualized. This is not much different from what you are using an application with user account control. Like, you cannot read and write from C drive or program files or similar locations. So it's an extension to that type of technology. But other than that, it's a full application, can call any Windows API. The only limitation is it cannot behave as a service. So for server-side apps, this is not the right technology. And it cannot use elevation. So you cannot run as admin of these store apps. But other than that, they can do anything. You can deploy a number of files. You can deploy DLS packages, additional executables. And it's really a Windows executable, or actually a collection of Windows executable in a folder with all additional files that are needed, that are easily deployed through the store.
Does Update 2 require Update 1 to have been applied, or can it be just installed over an existing Berlin?
You can install it over an existing Berlin, or you can install it even on a machine that hasn't got Berlin. It's the advantage of being a full uninstall, reinstall. That's the drawback, but it can be applied on any past version. It can also be installed on a machine that hasn't got a Berlin. You'll just be burning one license activation. Yeah, if you have already used your license activations, you might need to ask support for a new one. That's the only potential drawback. But it's a new install. And differently from update 1, we have fixed the get it installer so that your registry settings can be preserved.
Now, if you're installing it over an existing Berlin or Berlin Update 1, does that use up a license install?
No, it is the license that's on the system is recognized. Actually, if you're using GetIt, the installer will indicate the license it is going to use, because we've had issues with systems that had mixed starter licenses of one product and pro or enterprise licenses of the other product, and something that we don't really support, so it's causing trouble. So the system will tell you which license it is going to use when installing. And you can, if it's the wrong license, stop it, use the license manager, clean it up, and then try once more. But it's not burning license, doesn't require new activation. Your license, your subscription, even if it's a 10 Seattle subscription that you continued renewing and it's on the machine, there's nothing you need to enter and there's no activation used.
Okay, great. So Nick talked about the fact that with having longer release cycles between major releases, does that mean that with this update 2, since there's new features, do you need to have third-party components updated for update 2, or can you use existing third-party components?
No, it's DCU packages compatible, so it is a minor release to all effects, meaning any package that works on Berlin, any DCU file, any BPL, DCP, whatever, it will work. I mean, unless we made some mistake, but we've done testing and it seems to be working fine. So it is meant to be a non-DCU breaking release. So all existing components for Berlin are going to be fine. And it is the same version number, so it's that there's no discrepancy on the actual physical version number for the packages.
Now, David was talking about bringing C++ Builder up on par with Delphi, which is exciting. There's a question here about Android services for C++ Builder. Is that something we're going to see soon?
I can't give you a date for that, but it's definitely something that we definitely want to add. I know it's an important feature.
Was that on the roadmap? It seems like I remember that, but I can't remember for sure.
Look, it is on the roadmap. I'm going to have to double check exactly when it's on the roadmap. It's not an update 2, but you can expect it soon. We are aware it's a useful feature.
Yeah. Okay, great. Also, back to the update 2 install. Do the third-party components installations, are they preserved between moving to update 2?
Yes, they are. So when you install update 2, it will keep all your IDE settings and the components you have installed and that kind of thing.
So there's another one for you, David. Are 0-byte base classes supported?
Yeah, this is a very interesting question. Using the new Clang compilers, no, they're not. So an empty base class, I actually just tested the size just now, is 8 bytes. This is the kind of thing that varies a lot between different compilers, but it's something we'll note down as useful.
Is there a way to discover from within your app while it's running if it's running on a high DPI screen so that you can adjust layout and such?
The screen object has DPI information, but I haven't used it directly, so I'm not 100% sure.
So using the T-sharing contract on Windows 10, it's now possible to share a custom file, per the example of a PDF file. Is there something which there's no code for this case? They're saying, to share This is something that just didn't work in Seattle because there's no code in the sharing of a PDF file with a T-share contract example. Marco, is that something you can answer?
No, I'm not 100% sure.
Something to look at, yeah. Stephen, here's a question for you. What if the app is working with a database, for example, Interbase? How do you have that installed through the Windows Store?
Okay, I believe it should be just the same as Android or iOS. Marco showed the deployment options through his demo where you can configure the different elements that you want to have going out within the package. And if you just enable Interbase in there, then the to-go libraries will be shipped inside your application in the correct folder structures. And then they just become available to your application at the point it runs. So you can use that as either a client library or a local database for the application.
Yes, exactly. It's a embedded or local version. You're not going to install Interbase for everybody to use through...
Yeah, it becomes a deeply embedded version for your application.
Exactly, yep. So yeah, Marco already talked about virtualized. It's not like you're running in a virtual machine. It's just that you're restricted what files and registry settings you can get to. So really, it's almost exactly like you're running it under UAC already, because that's kind of the default behavior with Windows.
Yeah, the application is just a regular app. You can actually debug it. You can attach the debugger to the running application, but you need to start it from the package. Otherwise, it runs like a regular app. So the same executable, when it's deployed as part of the Apex, you can actually debug it. Again, it can really call any Windows API. It can also call WinRT APIs, which is certainly a nice addition. But it's down to the metal. The only virtualization is file system access.
So is the quick edits, are those expandable, extendable? Can we add our own classes and items and such to that? Marco?
Not at this point. It's something we can certainly consider for the future, but not at this point.
Robert saying, quick edits, RAD just got radder. I like that. Great comment, Robert. It's really cool. It's exciting to see, these little things like this that are going to make us more productive. It's like the IDE Insight feature. It's one of those things, once I started using that, it's like, I don't know how I ever programmed before having IDE Insight. So is the quick edit available for both Delphi and C++ Builder?
Yes, I think in the demo I just happened to have C++ Builder open, but it's a VCL feature, so it definitely applies to both C++ and to Delphi.
Dimitar is really excited to see the rename refactoring. Does the rename work across an entire project group, or is it only within a single project, David?
No, at the moment it's only within a single project, although we'll take that on board as something to investigate. The reason for that is that it uses the compiler services. It queries the compiler to find out where these identifiers are actually used, and it uses the compiler level information.
Okay.
That makes it very reliable because, of course, what it refactors is absolutely correct. That's one of the reasons we've done it that way.
Sure, yeah, that makes sense. I've used other ones before that were parser-based that were on top of it, and those were not always completely reliable, so using the compiler is great. There's a lot of questions here about when will Update 2 be ready. I'm sure you've already mentioned this, Nick. It's going to be ready when?
When it's ready.
Okay, great. Serena, here's a question about the FireMonkey styles aren't changing the close, minimize, maximize buttons in the Windows buttons like the VCL styles do. Can you explain why that is the case?
There's different, for the styling, there are different options. I think we have some examples that talk about VCL style customizations and Windows specifically. I'll look for some blog posts on that.
So is the way FireMonkey versus VCL styles are applied, does that affect whether or not can FireMonkey styles not do the minimize, maximize buttons?
FireMonkey styles are different than VCL styles on how they're applied. I'll have to double check. I think that we have some examples that show you how to do that, but I'll have to double check.
So Marco, here's a question about async await functionality in Delphi as far as a way to handle background calls. Is that something we're going to see soon?
It's one of the features that we have in our wish list for the parallel library, but it's not something that we're shipping with this update for sure.
Yeah. The parallel library with the ability to do the anonymous methods, I don't know. I think it's almost as good as async await. Async await is cool, but the parallel library makes all that stuff so much easier as well already. So,
I mean, we have futures, we have things that are similar, but it would be nice to round up the parallel library with a few more tidbits.
So there's questions here about the Advantage database server.
Yeah, I saw it, and I'm more than willing to try to get back in touch with them, but all of the people I knew at the company are not working there anymore, and my understanding is that basically the entire product has been put on hold. I know there are a few independent that are still like maintaining the Delphi integration and some other things, but I don't have very good information about the product. So I'd be more than happy if things change or if I have wrong info to be corrected and get in touch with them. But it seems it's not at the top priority for SAP.
So there's some questions about the special offer that Serena was just talking about. How does this offer apply to people that upgraded about just a month ago? So just upgraded right before the offer was created.
Stephen, is that something you can comment on?
Sorry, can you just repeat the question? I didn't hear it properly.
So how does the special offer that Serena was talking about, how does that apply to people who upgraded, like, say, just 1 month ago?
Yeah, those other offers that we've had running, so they kind of got effect to those. Not much that kind of goes backwards in time sometimes. So.
Yeah, time travel.
Yeah.
I'd say just contact your salesperson if you have any questions about the offers.
Yeah, that's true. They always could know the best way to answer that. So what if you're on update support and it's expired and now you're like, oh my goodness, this is amazing. I need to get back on update support. Is that an option?
So yeah, if you have just have a chat with your renewals rep, your support, your sales contact. If you have just lapsed, then there's normally a way for us to get you back into it, but it'd normally be backdated to the point that it should have been renewed. But there's only a kind of a finite time window they can actually do that. So it's definitely beneficial to make sure you stay current because in the long run, it works out a lot cheaper than trying to upgrade when it's kind of lapsed out later down the line. It doesn't mean you kind of get access to all the new updates that are coming through, as well as kind of the premium content. We've got premium webinars that are coming through, and there's day 3 of Code Rage this year is exclusive for those who are on update subscription. So if you want to kind of get the full benefit of the events and bits that are running, definitely worth being on the update subscription.
Yep. So, Marco, here's some questions about Windows Phone deployment. Is that something we're planning? Is that something this bridge is going to give us access to, or how does that fit into the scenario?
No, the bridge is called Windows Desktop Bridge for a reason. That is only works on Windows 10 desktop, and again requires the end users, not you as a developer, but the end users to actually run on the anniversary edition, anniversary update of Windows 10. The plain vanilla Windows 10 from last year will not really allow installing apps built with the desktop bridge. So it's desktop only. It is good old Win32 executable or Win64 executable running. It does not open up the bridge. But technically, it is a way to create a universal Windows platform application, although that's becomes kind of a misnomer, but that's the term that Microsoft uses to describe desktop bridge applications. So we don't support Windows Phone with that. We don't really plan to, at this point in time, to extend RAD Studio to support Windows Phone, also considering the fact that their market share is rapidly dropping Not that it was very high, but it's rapidly dropping below the like 1% or even less than that. So it's not a platform that looks extremely interesting for us to focus on.
Yeah, I've seen even analysts are saying that Microsoft's killing it. Microsoft hasn't officially said they're killing it, but everybody seems to think that it's going away. Here's another question about Apexes, Marco. Can I use a file open dialog within my UWP application so users can go out and open files that can be generated with the previous version of the application that was a desktop application, not UWP?
Yeah, there is file access. You might have to tweak something in terms of permissions. I'm not 100% sure, but I don't think actually there is anything else needed. So that's certainly doable. I mean, opening like the Windows Documents folder and similar locations is possible. Actually, my app saves data on in one small file with your list of figures in the Documents folder. And the reason is that you want this data to be preserved if you are updating the app. And so there are mechanisms that are actually quite flexible in terms of accessing the rest of the file. I mean, the public portions of the file system. Any portion of the file system that requires user access control, that will be denied by principle. That's
Jim,
how I read the doc. So.
Jim, I wanted to comment on the previous question regarding styling the non-client area for FileMonkey applications. That is
great.
supported. And that is supported as long as the style itself has a window border style graphic defined. So you can check when you're working with styles, you can open the style book and look in the structure pane. If there is a window border style defined, which means custom graphics have been created and defined for the non-client area of the form, then that will be styled with a custom style. If that has not been defined, it will be styled using the default Windows styling.
It's good to know.
There's another thing I wanted to mention. There were a couple of questions about shipping multiple executables in your Apex. That's technically possible. Again, the Apex is just a folder. You can put a lot of files and stuff into it. Microsoft even encouraged a model where you are shipping two executables, a Win32 and a WinRT app combined together. Their point is that the WinRT app is going to call the WinRT APIs like notification or sharing or some of the other features that are unique to WinRT, while your Win32 application still does the regular stuff. Now, with RAD Studio, you can actually do the WinRT calls within the same executable, so that's often not needed. But the model is supported. The only worry is that Microsoft is extremely worried about packages that will have a regular app and some sort of Trojan malware advertising tool or anything else, because as you know, on the Windows platform, it's more and more common that you download something and you get something else sent over to your system. And so they are really extremely worried about that, up to the point that to submit application to the store, you have to sign that you're not specifically doing that, and they can fine you, ask you for money if you end up shuffling something else in your Apex. So technically, there's no problem. In practice, you'll have to put a lot of care into having Apex with multiple executables.
Okay, it's good to know. So are registry settings preserved from program execution to program execution? Can you write to the registry that other programs can read and such? How does that work out, Marco?
No, I think that if one Apex writes to the registry, it writes to its own copy of the registry. So yeah, among executions for the same Apex, yeah, absolutely, the data is going to be preserved. But if you are, if you're using two different Apex, they tend to be shielded a bit, one to the other. So I'm expecting that sharing information through the registry for different executables, or Apex versus regularly installed apps might be tricky. Honestly, I've not done a lot of experiments. I'm just reporting what I read on Microsoft documentation, which is not always consistent, but that's the information that they have been sharing.
Yeah, and this is something that we're kind of ahead of the curve on because Microsoft's still kind of resolving how they're going to all work.
We are ahead of the curve. I was specifically reading a document that I got 2 days ago from Microsoft, and the document was explaining that if you're building WinRT applications for the store, you can use Visual Studio and just set a few fields. But if you want to create Apex applications, so desktop bridge applications, either test them or create the store version of them, Visual Studio hasn't got the support until today, and you have to do a lot of manual steps. You know what? RAD Studio is going to have support for store and Windows Desktop Bridge integrated in the IDE much sooner than Visual Studio, which is nice.
Yeah.
But and the other thing I want to, just to be clear, the store is open, but it's kind of by invite only. I've just tweeted a couple of links, but I'm going to have a blog post either later today or tomorrow explaining the current steps. So you have to create your account, which is actually fairly cheap, but you also have to go through a separate submission process. I mean, just submitting the app on the store does not work. You have to go through a separate process and a separate website, and then there's a team of people inside Microsoft that eventually will get back to you, ask you for information, and do a pre-vetting of your application before it's allowed on the store. So they're putting in place a process that might be only temporary, but for now there is a process that's a little convoluted. So the store is not technically open for anyone to create and do submissions for Windows Desktop Bridge apps.
Now, with as far as distribution goes of an Apex, you can distribute it only through the store, or is there other ways to distribute it?
No, you can do manual distribution. So the Apex format in itself is a format that allows a different installation model directly through other computers. So one usage of this technology beside the store is to create, for example, a distribution within an enterprise, or even, I mean, a way to distribute applications to your friends or whatever. And this would be a safer way to distribute apps to some extent compared to a traditional installer. Because again, it's very easy to install, uninstall, remove those apps. They live in their own subsection of the file system. So it is a way to distribute apps in general. The store is one of the options, although it's honestly a very relevant one.
Now, if someone installs the app from the store, can you then give them an update that installs over the app without going through the store, or do they have to go back through the store to get the update?
No, I think they have to go to the store to get the update. You cannot install the same app twice on the same system with the same ID. Of course, you can create an app with a different ID. That will be just an identical app with a different name, but the app ID is unique on the system. And I don't think you can mix versions that are downloaded and versions that are installed directly of the same app. I mean, there is versioning, of course, and multiple versions can live on a system, but I don't think you can mix the sources.
Okay. Is the IDE, Delphi IDE itself, or the RAD Studio IDE itself, is it high DBI capable?
It's only to some extent. We have been working a lot on the VCL to make it work much better than a couple of years ago on high DPI systems, and I think we are at a very good level with the VCL itself, but the IDE still falls short in a couple of areas. So we are continuously improving it and cleaning it up, but it's not to the point that we can declare it high DPI compatible.
Tom's saying that he's looking for, or curious why the IDE fix pack by Andreas Hasladen hasn't been rolled up for Berlin, saying he can't really use update or Berlin until he gets the IDE fix pack. I know, Nick, that you're a big fan of the IDE fix pack. Maybe you want to try addressing this?
So far, Andreas has been very good about getting the IDE fixpack out. We can certainly contact him and talk to him more thoroughly about what it is he's doing and how we can work together with him.
I know that one of the big things about IDE Fixpack is that it improves, people say it improves the compiler performance. I did a test recently with the Spring 4D just to check the compile speed of Spring 4D compared to between Seattle and Berlin without the IDE Fixpack. Building Spring 4D, which is 250,000 lines of very generic, rich, and compiler, it's got class helpers and just every compiler feature you can imagine in there, took just under 5 seconds with Berlin, whereas Seattle, I'm trying to remember what it was in Seattle. Seattle, I think it was like 15 seconds or something like that. So Berlin itself is significantly faster than Seattle without the IDE Fixpack. So if that's your concern about waiting for IDE Fixpack, Tom, I would definitely suggest taking a look at Berlin because it is significantly faster already.
Yeah, we did a lot of work in the generics area to improve compiling, that's for sure.
David, what boost components have been tested for compatibility?
Not off the top of my head, because there are many boost components. I know we support the vast majority of them. I was reading that question earlier, and there's a table on the Boost website that normally displays compatibility, and the question noted that we don't have results in that table, so I'll look into getting that updated. We currently ship Boost 1.55 at the moment, and we support the majority of things in that, I think.
So what is the free mobile add-on pack ad that is part of this promotion we have going on?
The free mobile add-on pack is provided if you upgrade to Professional. Right now there is a special offer going on where you get the free mobile add-on pack, or get the mobile add-on pack for free, which is usually sold separately. And the mobile add-on pack gives you the ability to target both iOS and Android with your FireMonkey applications. And the mobile add-on pack is also eligible, the Pro offer, the Pro with mobile add-on pack, free mobile add-on pack offer is also eligible for the 10% discount that I mentioned on the slide earlier. It's a great time to buy. Customers can upgrade to Professional. They'll get the mobile add-on pack for free right now as part of the special offer. That is something that's usually sold separately. That will allow them to target both iOS 10, Android Nougat, and also earlier versions of both iOS and Android from one code base using FireMonkey. And that offer is also eligible for the 10% Professional license discount that we're running right now.
Fantastic. So there's a question here is about iOS 10.1 point whatever the Apple's made some updates. Is that an Xcode 8.1? Is that also supported by the Berlin update 1? I guess.
Yes, we're always testing against the latest publicly released versions to ensure that the product works and to work on fixes as necessary to ensure that we can support the latest released versions. In regards to Update 2, we've made some enhancements to iOS 10 and macOS Sierra. I saw a question earlier about some specific permissions that are now required as part of your application manifest for functionality such as using the camera control, and that's something that we're fixing in Update 2. I also saw a separate question earlier about Update 2 and a bug fix list. Once we release Update 2, we will be putting up a list just like we have in the past that outlines the bugs that we have fixed in the update. Of course, this update has a lot of great new features, but as always, we will put up a bug fix list once Update 2 is released.
So the question here about the roadmap says that the roadmap shows fall 2016 for Godzilla. Is that still the plan, or I guess we're just now getting into fall. Anyone want to comment on that?
Yeah, we'll release the Linux product when it's ready.
When it's ready. Okay, good. It is something we're working on. Actually, when I was down in Berlin, I was able to do not Berlin. Berlin's the name of the compiler. When I was down in Brazil, we were able to do a demo of Linux. So it is something that is coming along, but it's Godzilla will be done when it's ready.
And
sorry, Vince, that's the best I can do. We can't talk specifics about future plans.
One thing I wanted to mention on that front is if you're an update subscription, once we have the Godzilla beta, you will be invited to it. So being able to participate in the beta programs and being able to get an early preview of what's coming is one of the benefits of update subscription. And so if you're current on update subscription, once we have the Godzilla beta and we've kicked off the Godzilla beta program, we will send you an invitation to it. It'll be an NDA beta just like we have done in the past, but if you are on update subscription, that'll be something that you will be invited to if you're interested in participating.
That's a very good point. Thank you for remembering that, Serena.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, absolutely. So if you're waiting for Linux, waiting for Godzilla, get on update subscription now.
Get on update subscription and you'll get an early look.
Here's an interesting question. Let's say you're using a TRZ button instead of T button. Does the quick edits allow for editing those instead of the T button?
Not currently. So currently the ones that are in the menu are the ones we've identified as the most common controls, but we are getting some feedback that people would like to customize that. So yeah, we'll consider adding that.
So it currently only inserts the T button, but can you use the quick edits to edit another type of button or any other type of control?
I'm sorry, edit. Yes, sorry, I misinterpreted the question. Yes, the quick edits, the quick edit feature will let you edit any control at all, not just the ones we ship with. No, it functions with any controls.
Actually, I guess they were asking about inserting, but I expanded on the question. So the questions here about academic program or trials for students and such. Nick, is that something, do you want to handle that one?
Specifically academic, I'm sorry, what?
I can handle that one if you want, Nick.
Stephen, that would be great, yeah.
Thank you, Stephen.
Yeah, I've done a huge amount of the work with the guys down in South Africa where we've been getting the model sorted out. With the academic side, there was a press release put out, I think back in September, October time, about the academic program that we have now. And basically institutes can get in contact with the local sales reps and partners, and we're doing licenses for the class for the year. So there's a number of classroom licenses plus a number of termed licenses that allow the students to use a free version whilst they're doing their study. So they just need to be renewed every year with the local partners to kind of keep those updates. But that includes kind of updates to the licenses as well. So if we put new stuff out, then they can get that through. So that's a big thing that we have now out and available. So yeah, definitely if you're looking for that kind of stuff, please get in contact with your local partner. There are some variations depending on the country to do with different laws and legislations and bits like that, but the local partners will be able to help you through that.
Fantastic. Nick, here's one for you. What kind of support do we have for unit testing with our products?
We ship D-Unit and D-Unit X with the product, and we're migrating our support to the D-Unit X framework. And we heartily support you writing unit tests for your code.
Yes. His questions about, are we planning to put more emphasis on the Android enhancements over iPhone? We've done a lot of things around like native components, native rendering on iPhones. Serena, is that something you can handle since Android apps are taking a huge segment of the market now and really taking off? Is that something we plan to do?
Sure. So yes, if you look at, can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Yes, that's something we're looking at, and that's also something that's outlined in our roadmap. If you have a look at our roadmap on community.embarcadero.com, you'll see an outline for things that we're working on and we're looking to implement in the future, Android Z-Order and Android native controls rendering being a focus in the future for future releases. As you'll see, that's outlined for both future releases, is the ability or the functionality to have natively rendered controls and style controls coexist on Android, and also supporting native rendering for select controls on Android, just like we're doing for iOS as we continue to build that out in the future. It's also something that we're looking at for Mac OS after Android support.
Here's a question about Chromecast and specifically Chromecast 2. I know I've seen some MVPs have done some examples with Chromecast, but is that something we're planning to address specifically as a target Marco or Nick?
We don't have any plans for the Chromecast at this time, but we're always interested in things that our customers want. So if you may want to make a case for Chromecast support, we're all ears.
I'm trying to think. I guess the Chromecast doesn't run like Android type apps. It really runs like JavaScript. If I remember correctly, you send it some JavaScript that it executes and then can talk back to your app on a mobile device or desktop. So yeah, like I said, some MBTs have already done some stuff with Chromecast to support it. So Stephen wants me to, actually Stephen, real quick, can you remind everybody how to get the best out of their update subscription?
Yeah, sure. So there's just a few questions that are coming around from people who are currently on update subscription on the latest stuff. The one thing that would really, really help us, help you, is if you can just log into your EDN account and just make sure if you're not seeing emails through from us that you kind of tick the box that allows us to send you emails, because if you've put the complete and utter kind of the highest level of block on email stuff coming through, because there's marketing stuff that gets sent out and other kind of things as well, but it prevents us from actually being able to reach you to let you know about the exclusive webinars and the extra content that's coming around Code Rage and other things like that. So please just kind of take a couple of minutes to log into your EDN account and just make sure that you allow us to reach you with that kind of information that's really part of what you're paying for with your product. But if you say we don't receive any emails whatsoever from us, then we can't actually send you an email about it.
Yes, that's a very good point. Here's a question here about 3D Touch on iOS. Is that something we support through FireMonkey specifically?
That is not something that we have built in support at this point in FireMonkey, but it's something that we're looking at for the future, possibly.
Yeah, I know it's like Touch ID. We did I guess it was a Code Rage session on it last year, I think it was, that it's most of the iOS APIs, especially ones that are iOS specific, you can just reach down and grab that API and interact with it directly. But yeah, we don't have Touch ID support, or not Touch ID, 3D Touch built in yet, but probably could do that. There's a question here about integrating with Cortana. I'm guessing on Windows 10 through the UWP applications. Marco, is that something that you can address?
We haven't really had the time to go through all of the possible technologies that are supported, because the ultimate check is publishing an application that does these specific calls and see the behavior. So the full testing of what can be done with the Centennial Bridge is something we're still engaging.
Yeah, it sounds like it should work according to Microsoft, but it's something we have not tested yet.
Yeah, and again, the problem is that Microsoft, on the Microsoft website, you find some technical information around Centennial, but you also find a lot of, I'd say, politically correct information, which is not technically correct about the same technology. So, for example, I mean, as I was mentioning, they claim that if you want to do WinRT API calls, you have to create a separate app, which is absolutely not true, and we have proven it because we have been shipping WinRT integration since 10 Seattle, so it's not even new for us. Now, those APIs should be expanded because now a Centennial app has got a strong application ID, which is required for calling for the APIs. So in theory, you should be able to reach even more WinRT APIs. In practice, we haven't done a lot of internal testing, so we're not exactly sure.
The question someone's asked a couple times about nullable types. Are those something on the roadmap? Is that something we have coming in the near future, Nick?
Yeah, nullable types are on the roadmap. Annis, I'm sorry, you seem to want to know specifics about it. We have been concentrating our compiler efforts on platform support over the last few years, but nullable types are on the roadmap and will be coming. You can do nullable types now using some third-party frameworks. So
That's true.
Spring4D has a nullable type that you can use that will that works quite well.
Magnus is saying he's having an issue with it being slow to open forms with a lot of components on them compared to Seattle. Is that something that's going to be addressed in Update 2? Is there a bug? If there's a bug on that, Magnus, you should send that
We need
through.
to know what the bug, a bug report, reproducible bug report. That's the first we've heard of it.
It sounds like Victor's trying to get some support, but with comments on blogs. Victor, if you are looking for support, definitely go through the support channel. What is it? Embarcadero.com/support, I think it is. If you just click the support link and file a support issue, that's the best way to get support. Serena, myself, and others aren't always able to debug everything correctly through blog comments.
And if, Victor, if you've got questions, you can email me. I'm happy to answer your emails. So
Yeah.
there's let me make a general statement. There's a bunch of questions and comments about why doesn't Delphi support this, why doesn't Delphi support that. One of the things we don't want to do is we don't want to walk all over our third-party developers who provide these features for us. The fact that we don't provide them out of the box doesn't mean that those features aren't available to Delphi developers. And a rich third-party component and a third-party framework market is very, very important to us, and we enjoy supporting those people. We provide, or we love the fact that people are supporting us through that, and we highly encourage all of our customers to take advantage of things like Spring4D, which have nullable types. If you want nullable types, they're available to you through the outstanding framework called Spring for Delphi. And we very much appreciate that.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. And that's something I've always loved about Delphi is the incredibly rich third-party component frameworks. And so, yeah, that's an important point is we, to have features incorporated in, but at the same time, encourage and support those third-party developers. Another thing, actually, there was a blog post someone had made recently about how they were leaving .NET because it had just, he didn't say this in the article, but to me it sounded like .NET has followed the path of Java where everything is just so complex. There's all these packages you have to install and these factories. Anything you want, it's like, oh, I want to do this. Well, it's going to take you an hour of configuration just to get to the point to start writing code to do that. And then I was so pleased to see the guy's like, I'm leaving .NET and I'm going back to Delphi because it's nice and simple to get things done. And so that's something also I realized I like about Delphi is while, yeah, we have some third-party frameworks, and we have stuff built in, we have a few options of how to get there, but it's not so complicated. It's great to just get things done with Delphi. And so, yeah, we could have added Windows Phone support back a few years ago, but, Windows Phone didn't go anywhere, so that would have been a waste of time. So it's important that we are careful what platforms we go after and features we add as to not make the product more complex than necessary. Here's a question about fast reports. Marco, do you want to answer that, where the fast report components can be found with Berlin?
The fast report shipped with, the VCL1 shipped with the product is part of the features in the Get It installer, and the FMX1, I think it's an additional Get It package.
Yeah, you have to click. There's like a second tab or a second page you click through, and you have to check the box for fast reports. So if you used the Get It base installer and you did not select fast reports, that's why you're not seeing them. But they are certainly there. I just installed the other day and installed them. Comments about Visduino being a great Arduino solution. Good start for IoT. Integrate into our products. You know what? You can go add Visduino. We don't need. Maybe we'll integrate it. Who knows? But yeah, just go get Visduino if you want to do Arduino stuff. It's a great solution.
And they're coming onto Code Rage and see it in action, I believe.
Yeah, there's going to be a session at Code Rage. I'm excited about that. Visduino is so cool. And Richard just said, third-party support is excellent. Look at Orpheus. Turbo Power is long gone, but Orpheus still lives and get it. That's very true. We're resurrected a number of these older packages, and they're now thriving again through Get It and being maintained by Roman, which we appreciate. So lots of great options out there. to address different things. So I think we've answered most of the questions here that were related to updates to Berlin Update 2 and some that weren't. If does anybody want to add anything to close? Maybe there's a question I missed that someone wants to bring up real quick. Nick, anything you want to add in closing?
Just thanks for your support. We appreciate people on Update subscription, and we're working really hard to make that Update subscription a very valuable and worthwhile thing for you, and we appreciate it very much.
Yeah. Steve, anything you want to add?
Yeah, I just put into the chat the link for the community article about Code Rage. So make sure you get along there. Just register once. That'll get you onto the 2 days, day 1, day 2. If you're a current Update subscription customer, it'll automatically add you to day 3 as well and send you through the emails for that. So we're going to have 2 separate rooms that are running on day 1, day 2, virtual rooms, and then the exclusive track on day 3. But you just need to register once and you'll get the links for all of those.
Yeah. So there's 2. I have people ask me questions about room 1, room 2. They're just 2 separate tracks. When we get the schedule published, you'll see which sessions are available on which tracks, and you can decide which room you want to be in. But you're registered for all of it automatically. Marco, anything you'd like to add real quick?
No, nothing in particular. Again, it's a special update. Stay tuned to it. And we've really added a lot of new features in many different product areas that add value to your Berlin product.
Yeah. I'm excited. This is a lot of cool stuff here. The Windows store is neat stuff. Serena, anything you want to add real quick?
Nothing in particular that hasn't been said already. Thank you very much for attending. We're really excited about Update 2, and once it's been released, you'll be notified via email, and I also encourage you to check community.embarcadero.com frequently, as we're always posting new content, tips and tricks for the product, new announcements, etc. So if you haven't looked at community.embarcadero.com, I certainly invite you to have a look.
Yeah, lots of stuff on there as well. Good point. And David, I didn't mean to put you last, but I was scrolling through the list in reverse alphabetical order, apparently.
Not much to add to what everyone else has said. I'd like to echo about Code Rage. We have some really good sessions and two parallel tracks, so lots of material. So do sign up for that. And like everyone else, I have my email address on screen at the moment, and you're always welcome to email with, especially with things that affect you, and then letting me know about the direction of the product that you'd like to see in future. It's always good to hear from people and hear what's important to you.
Yes. Yeah, and actually, if you like, for example, if there's a bug, make sure you have a bug report, and you can send that along with, hey, why this bug's a big deal, in an email. That's always great. New feature requests can go through quality as well as via email, so that's fantastic. One more question here. David says is the linker been improved its ability to handle larger projects? Looks like it'll be our last one.
So that's something we are actively investigating. I know it's very important. So that's we haven't specifically made any changes in Update 2, but it's something we are very interested in having some significant changes to.
Magnus just sent a issue request there. Do you guys see that? You can grab that bug.
Yeah, we'll give that a look. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you, Magnus. And thank you to everybody else for joining us for this great Update 2 preview. We're all looking forward to getting this out to all of you as soon as possible. So thanks for joining us, and thanks for your enthusiasm and all the fantastic apps. Actually, I'm going to make a plug real quick. We have our cool apps contest going on, and I'll have a new winner here shortly. But if there's some project out there, especially something mobile that you've seen, encourage them to submit an entry in the cool apps contest and get that up there. We've had some previous winners include 1Password for Windows. The current winner is Earmaster, which is a iPad app, Earmaster for iPad. And so the cool thing was this one was I think he said he shared 98% of the code between Earmaster for Windows and Earmaster for Mac and Earmaster for iPad, and just made this brilliantly fabulous app for training you for music theory and ability to play by ear and stuff like that. And actually, I downloaded Embarcadero for iPad and was impressing my wife with my ability to actually hold a tune, which is something she did not think I had possible to do for me. So check out Embarcadero for iPad. And then FrameForge, fantastic product being used in behind the scenes on lots of your favorite TV shows and movies, written in Delphi that they use to storyboard better. Very cool. All three of these blew me away, but FrameForge, I was just getting blown away by how powerful, amazing an application this is. And it's written in Delphi. So very cool. Love to see all the great stuff everybody's doing out there, and appreciate all your efforts. So our apps created both with Delphi and C++ Builder, including Starter Edition, able to be deployed in the Windows Store. Oh, I guess also FireMonkey. Is FireMonkey supported, or is it VCL only?
No, FireMonkey is supported. In fact, the Lego Figures app is a FireMonkey application that has like 250,000 downloads on the Play Store, and the only thing I had to do is to add an if-def for the default folder where to save some additional files. So it was really a 1-minute change from the Android and iOS version of the app. So it does support FireMonkey. Of course, it does support VCL. It's completely independent on the programming language, so it works either on Delphi or C++ Builder. The only limitation is that you can really create services, or there are other technical limitations. The application cannot require elevation, so admin privilege. So there are a few things you can do, but basically you can do almost everything a Windows application can do. It is running on a confined world in terms of file system and registry access, but in terms of physical machine, I mean, it's not a virtual application in any way. It's native, running on the CPU and calling any Windows API, traditional APIs, COM, shell integration APIs, WinRT APIs. It's exactly like a standard Delphi or C++ Builder app. And sorry, the last thing is the Starter Edition. The plan is not to include the integrated desktop bridge deployment with Starter Edition. Technically, the core technology is a Microsoft technology, so you're not prevented from using it, but it's not built into the IDE for Starter.
So the quick edit stuff, will that also allow you to edit third-party components, or is it only going to edit the standard VCL components?
Yeah, you can use it for any components at all. So the quick edit little floating window that popped up, or the right-click menu where it had something like quick images or quick data source or something like that. The items that are shown in there are all based on RTTI, just like the object inspector. If a control happens to have a t-image list property, then that, no matter what it's called, then that property will show as quick whatever its name is to set the image list. And the same for the floating window. I mean, if a control has alignment and color and that kind of thing, then name, of course. Pardon me, if it has those properties, then those properties will be available to edit through Quick Edit. So it works for any controls at all, including third-party controls.
Okay. So Nick, here's a question for you. When will Update 2 be available?
When it's ready.
Okay. I love.
We'll definitely send out an email when updates.
You will know. Yeah. Sorry, Serena.
No problem.
What was that Julian Gallo wine company that we sell no wine before it's time?
There you go.
Am I the only person who remembers that?
That's funny.
Ship no up.
There was. You're showing your age, pal.
I know. I was like 3 when I saw it on TV, I swear.
That's pretty good memory there, Jim.
Let's see. Lots of great feedback. Everybody's excited about these new features. Very cool. Questions came up about Linux. If we had shown off the Linux support and someone just missed that. the?
We did not show it. We did not show it in this webinar because this webinar is about update 2. Linux will be part of Godzilla. Godzilla is going to be the next major version release. When we have a Godzilla beta available, update subscription customers will be invited to the beta. We don't have that ready at this point, but once it is available, we'll be sure to send you an email and invite you to join the beta if you're interested.
Yeah, exactly. Get on an update subscription, get on the beta. That's the way to go if you want to see Linux. So is any report on how many bug fixes are going to be in this? There's a few people saying, well, is this bug fixed or this bug fixed?
Yeah, I replied to a couple of bugs that people were asking for that we did fix. That's good news. One of the data snap ones and others. There are roughly 100 bugs fixed, including 60-something that's been publicly reported, and including some of the most voted, certainly the most voted, but also some of the most voted issues in the quality portal.
Okay, yeah. So if anybody, if there's a particular bug you're not sure about, go vote on it in the quality portal, and I guess they can email you with bug IDs, and then you can let them know if they might or may not be.
Sure, or just wait when it's released. We'll publish a list of the bugs that we are going to fix. That's
probably the best idea because, yeah, just wait. When it's released, you'll see all the bugs are fixed that you hopefully were wanting fixed. So with upgrading, it's going to keep all the settings, third-party components installed when they go update to update 2. Does that also mean, and will it use up a license, install license, or how does that work?
So for update 2, we added a couple of things. We're adding a couple of things to the installer. One of them is the ability to retain your registry settings. This is something that has been part of the ISO-based offline installer, but it's also something that we're adding to the Get-It-based online installer. We also refer to it as the feature installer. We're adding the functionality for detecting that you have an existing version installed, so an existing version of Berlin installed, and then we give you the option of saving off those registry settings so that after uninstalling, so when you kick off the update 2 installer, it will detect if you have an existing version of Berlin installed. At that point, it will surface a screen that lets you save off those registry settings. It will then uninstall, and then during the reinstall process, it will pick up those settings, and that includes your third-party components, etc. If you are installing, Berlin Update 2 will require an uninstall and reinstall, just like Berlin Update 1. If you're installing it on a machine that currently has a license for it and that you've previously installed Berlin on, it will detect that license. We're also adding functionality in the installer that will present you with the license that it has found so that you can either use that license or use a new license. And that's for people that already have an existing version on their system that has update subscription on it, for example, that will work with Berlin. And in that case, it will detect if you have that license, and then you can either continue to use that license or enter a new one. If you're installing it on the same machine, it will pick up that license. It won't burn another installation count or anything like that. It will pick up that license and let you install. And that only applies if you're installing on a separate machine, the license count.
So how does the binary compatibility to work on update 2? I mean, there's a lot of new features here. Does that mean that everybody's going to get new third-party components?
Yeah, the release is compatible with Berlin Update 1 and with Berlin RTM. So if you have existing DCO files, third-party components, compiled packages, there should be absolutely no problem at all. We are adding new components, but that doesn't impact on existing third-party tools. I mean, you're adding components for the new calendar. Everything we do at the IDE level is not a problem, and the project files will get updated with the additional fields for Windows Store deployment.
Any closing words, Nick, before we go?
No, just thanks for attending today, and we'll get update 2 out to you when it's ready as soon as possible. We're working hard on it, and hopefully you guys feel the value of your update subscription.
I can echo what Nick is saying, and I also wanted to mention that the Pro with Mobile offer that we're running right now that I showed you a couple minutes ago during the presentation, the 10% off also applies to that, so it's a great time to reach out to your salesperson, and if you're in the process of renewing, to your renewals rep. And if you're an update subscription, you will also be invited to the Linux beta once we've kicked off that beta. So update subscription offers many benefits. One of them, of course, is being eligible for updates as they're released and next major version releases, and also being able to participate in beta. You're able to preview features as they're being developed.
We really value our update customers, and we want to continue to provide lots of value to people on update subscription.
Yes, and actually, speaking of which, I'll plug Code Rage is coming up here in 2 weeks, or just under 2 weeks. Oh my goodness. And it's going to have 3 full days of content, and the third day is exclusive to update subscription customers. So if you're not on update subscription, get on update subscription, because you're going to want to be on third day of Code Rage. Clinton Johnson had some questions about C++ Builder. Clinton, you probably just want to email, David directly about your questions there about RSP 1199.999.0, and he can help you with that, I'm sure. Here's a question about the Canopka controls radiant shapes. Is that offer still available?
That was part of the bonus pack. I'm not sure if we're still, I don't think we're still running it, but you can still redeem it. I'm not 100% sure. If you go to embarcadero.com/rad offer, it will have all the details on the current offers that we're currently running. I'm not sure that we're still running that. If you previously purchased during the period in which we offered the bonus pack, then I think you can still download them and redeem for those 2 products, but I'm not sure that we're currently running that promo. Your best bet is going to embarcadero.com/rad offer, because that shows all the offers that are eligible, that you would be eligible for if you purchased right now.
Yeah, I just went and looked there. It just says bonus pack redemption. It doesn't say it's included. So it sounds like you redeem it.
So yeah, we're no longer running that promotion. But if you purchased during a time in which we offered that promotion, the bonus pack promotion, then the links are at the bottom of that page for you to be able to go through the redemption process.
Will Windows Store support, I know we said it's not going to be in Starter, Marco. Is that going to be available in Pro, or is it going to be in Enterprise only, or do we know yet?
The store support is available in Pro and above.
Okay, and probably also for Marco here, is the expertcreator.dcp, Ryan saying it doesn't seem to be available in Berlin Pro?
That's something I need to check. There might have been an unwanted change or a wanted change. If you send me email, I'll follow up on that.
Okay. Anything else from anybody else? I think we're got everything wrapped up here before we go. Okay. Fantastic. Thank you, everyone, for all the work you put in making Delphi more and more exciting. I just love getting to talk to people about it and getting to use Delphi and C++ Builder. They're great products. And thanks for everybody showing up for this webinar, and we look forward to seeing you online for Code Rage.
Thank you, everybody. See you at Code Rage.
Thank you. See you at Code Rage. Bye-bye.
Thanks, everyone. See you.